Hi, my name is Ian McCombs and we're going to discuss the worst books written by me. And now we're going to talk about book 6, which really wasn't a book that I was trying to make publishable. I was just writing it for me. After the unfortunate problem I had with book 5, where I really put my heart and soul into it, really thought this was going to be the one, and then did get a whole lot of no feedback, or the feedback I did get was pretty disastrous. I decided, you know what, I'm writing something just for me. And so that's what I did. Book 6 was really just me wanting to rewrite book 2, which I'm currently kind of doing, and putting in the very beginnings and origins of those characters I had written in book 2, which was a great idea. The problem with it, though, is that I tended to go way too kitchen sink, not only of putting too much random stuff in there, one, but also all the mysteries and backstory and things that you didn't know or need to know were shoved into that book. And so a lot of the stuff that I should have just not told, should have not shown, should have just kind of left as a mystery, instead I really put that to the foreground. So unfortunately people would read that book and then know all the secrets in the rest of the books that I had planned for that series, which was a pretty terrible idea. What I really should have done is concentrate on those 2 characters, doing just a normal day's work moving forward. So that's what I'm actually doing with the current book I've rewritten for book 2 and then book 6, book whatever it is now. I'm rewriting those 2 characters in a story that's pretty mundane and just writing their day in the life in a very extraordinary setting, and how that setting impacts characters from what they want and what they need, from where they're at to where they get to. One of the things that I really encourage you to do is write stuff just for you. Not necessarily for publication, not because you're going to sell it, but stuff that just you enjoy. And one of the reasons for that is because you'll really begin to learn and love what you're doing with your writing. If you just write what you're hoping is going to sell, what'll be commercial, to make you $1 billion, you're going to end up really not enjoying what you're writing. And I think that's very important for a writer, to enjoy what you write, to love what you write, and really begin to understand what you're writing, how it affects you, how you can affect your writing to really make it something special to you. A lot of folks, I'm sure you've read books where the books seem pretty sterile, very meh. And when you read those books, that's probably what's going on, or those writers really aren't invested. They really don't care. It's not something that they're passionate about. And so the books are kind of not the best. And if you write something that you really are passionate about, you really enjoy, you really love, then you can put a lot of yourself into it. And even if that first draft isn't that great, even if that story isn't that terrible. Again, book 2, terrible, awful. Book 6, not really that good, but I really enjoyed writing it. I really loved writing it. And so that kept me going. And that's one of the most important things about being a writer, is to keep writing. So even if book 1, book 2, book 3, book 4, book 5, book 6, or whatever book I'm on now, probably I'm getting towards 20, if it's terrible, at least you keep writing. So hopefully, maybe someday you'll find something that you really enjoyed writing, you're really passionate about, and you really make work for you. One of the things that I've said in the past, and I'll say it again and again and again, is you have to do what works for you. Not necessarily the advice that you hear on the internet, from me, from anybody else. Do what works for you, and that really makes your writing come alive. So one of the things that I found with this book, book 6, is I really enjoy just going with the flow and having a lot of fun with it. The problem is, again, I need that balance between planning and doing it just on the seat of my pants, because if I don't, here I do a lot of stuff by the seat of my pants, I tend to go way left field, and the stuff that I had thought, oh, this is what needs to happen at the end, went so far left of field that it didn't really make a whole lot of sense. And even looking back on it, I think, why did I even do that? It seemed fun at the time, but I tended to just go with this and go with that rather than kind of concentrating, honing it, putting it into a very laser beam focus to make that work. And so that's something that I've learned through what I've done, is that I have to pull myself back from just going wee and throwing everything out there and really saying, no, that's not a tangent you can do. What we're going to do instead is we're going to do this, and we're going to keep on this storyline, this story arc. This is the way we're going, and I know you want to explore these 20 other things. You can do that later. You can do that in a short story. You can do that in another book. You can do that somewhere else, but let's just stay here, stay where we're going, find what that interesting part is, maybe bringing it in, but not trying to do 20 different things at once. One of the things that I've found extremely helpful, and this is a project that I did at this point, was I did a lot of world building. I took big drawing boards, paper, and what I did was I found interesting pictures that seemed like this, that worked with the story that I was writing. And it was a lot of, one of the ladies that printed these for me, she said, wow, there's a lot of disturbing imagery in there, there's a lot of terribleness in here. And I said, yeah, this is the book I'm writing, and so I'm building storyboards about the people and the places in this story, and it's pretty dark, it's pretty awful, but I think I can really pull that and do well with that, so that way people can get a view of what's happening in their own world, their own lives, and really come to terms with some of the awful things that have happened to them, around them, and through them, so they can make a better impact on their world and on themselves. Know that change is possible, that you can be a better person, you can affect a better world at large. So with world building, there are a couple different programs you can buy and put them on your computer, or there are web applications that you can do, and I would definitely encourage you to do that, even if you're just putting it in a paper notebook, whatever you got, so that way you can put down who this character is, how they relate to other people, how this universe works, how this world works, and really make it concrete in your mind. As I'm rewriting parts of book 6 and book 2 to make it into a new book, one that's really, I think, going to be more readable, shall we be nice to myself, is that I keep finding out, oh God, how did that work? What happened there? How does this interact with that? What happens with this situation? And I have to figure out, okay, how do I go there? How do I make it work? Reread old things that I've written. And so I really think putting it in a notebook, putting it in an application on your computer, putting it in some of these things that are online that you can use that way, definitely would be helpful. So I definitely think that if you're doing a lot of world building and doing something that is different than your normal everyday, so I'm speaking mainly of genre fiction, not literature, is to do that and have that set, so that way if you have a problem, you're looking back at it, you don't put the character's hair is a different color and you didn't even have them color their hair, whatever it is, you want to have some stability so readers aren't pulled away from your story reading it and they go, wait, what happened there? Why is this person like that? Why do they look different? And you really have that settled, so you don't want your reader to be taken away out of your book, and so they realize, oh my goodness, I'm reading a book. You want them so immersed in the story, in your characters, in what's going on, that they don't ever, if there is anything like that, they don't see it. So really keep your world building set, so that way you know what's going on, you can refer back to it. Good things I did, same story, my dialogue good, characterization good, characters good, they were fun, enjoyable. The problem was I kept putting them in situations where they couldn't shine, and I had to deal with secondary background characters, and so the story became drawn away from them and really wasn't about them. So that's another thing that, you look back on this and you realize, aha, I need to make it about those characters, because again, if they're the viewpoint main characters, they need to be the center of the action. There can be other ways to do that if you have a viewpoint characters who are looking at the main character, because maybe it's a tragedy or other things. However, they need to be constantly involved in things, so the story revolves around them, maybe isn't about them, but that rotates around them. Another thing that I think I did well was that I had a lot of fun writing it, like I said before, and so that kept my juices going. It really kept me involved with writing. It kept me happy about my writing, so I continued with it. And that's, again, one of the big things that I think is really important is to love your writing, love your process, love what you're doing, so you don't have an end goal of, look, I wrote a book, it's done, I'm done, and you don't ever write anything again. That you love the process, you love the writing of your books. One of the books that I wrote in 2020, one of my favorite books I've ever written, because I loved the process so much and I hadn't written for so long, and it was such a terrible year, 2020. Yeah. So I loved it so much because it became such a good part of dealing with that year, and became such a good part of me really focusing on, hey, let's start writing again and really find myself. So I really hope that through your writing process, it's not an end goal where you write a book, you make some money, and then you're done for the rest of your life, because there's so much more into you. And you really can find yourself, you can find peace with the universe and with the world and all these terrible things that are happening everywhere, if you really use your writing as a way to deal with some of that, regardless of what kind of genre you're using, literature fiction or genre fiction as well. So I really hope that your writing brings you peace and happiness, because it can be such an amazing joy to really enjoy and find the writing that you're passionate about.